Hey, lovers! Welcome to the Book Lovers Club, the podcast where we celebrate Black Sapphic love stories, one book at a time. I'm your host, Joy, a married lesbian, lifelong book lover, and relational communication scholar. Here, we don't just read the romance, we learn from it. I believe that love stories can do more than just entertain us. They can teach us how to love better, how to see ourselves more clearly, and how to create the love life of our dreams. Each week, I'll dive into sapphic stories written for us and by us, while weaving in personal insights and communication lessons you can take off the page. So grab your drink, get cozy, and let's turn the page together. Welcome to the club. Hey, book lovers! Welcome back to another episode of the Book Lovers Club. And y'all, it's been a lot of drama in these lesbian streets, okay? And I am definitely going to be talking about it today because I've been knee deep in Choyce and Auntie Nay's drama. And I think it relates a little bit, kind of. It might be a stretch, but I think it relates to the books that we're reading. So, today's episode, I will be talking a little bit about Where There's Smoke by Aricka Alexander, which is one of the books that we're reading this month. And then I will be talking about just some of the drama that we've been seeing in these streets, okay? I do have a couple of announcements to make before we jump into everything, but I have been really connecting with some amazing people in the Black Sapphic space. And I am currently working on my first larger book event. It won't be until September. I don't want to make too many announcements about it prematurely, but just know that more information is coming soon. But I've had the pleasure recently to interview author Monique Good, and I will be dropping her interview soon as a bonus episode. But I am currently planning a much larger book event to happen in September. And just the response that I've gotten from people who are interested in collaborating with me, who see the vision of what I'm trying to do, and who have offered to support me, I'm very grateful. But I will share more information with y'all soon once I have more details solidified. But just know, your girl is out here hustling, out here making moves. But would you expect anything less from a Capricorn? Let's be for real, okay? So, look, I'm just walking in my purpose, and it's just so nice to be seen and supported. The same support that I am pouring into other people, into their art, into their, creativity. I see that same love and support being given to me in return. And I just wanted to name that. I always talk about things I'm grateful for in this podcast, but I've really been feeling it, okay? So, like, for example, like y'all know that I flew from Chicago to Atlanta to meet Desiree Granger and participate in her book signing event and release event for her book, The Secret World of Maggie Gray. I love that book series. I love her books. Honestly, I'm a huge fan. Okay. But the fact that, I traveled down there, met her, and she just dropped just some video footage from the event. And me and my book besties are like front and center in the video. Okay. Like, it's just nice to be a part of it and be represented and be shown that I was there supporting my girl. But I wasn't expecting us to be like deep in the video like that. So if y'all haven't had a chance, go on over to Desiree Granger's social media. Go to her Instagram page because she did post a video just recapping the event. And me and my book besties are in there. And you cannot miss us, okay? We are very visible at the end of the video, and it was just very refreshing to see myself in the video. I actually forgot that they recorded us, and just to see us included, it was just nice, y'all. But anyway, I've still been like in a good mood since that event. I have some more book events coming up. I just bought tickets to Danielle Allen's book signing event that she's having here at Last Chapter Bookstore. So her new book is called Big Girl Blitz. and that's the book that she's doing the signing for, and the event is in April. So if you buy tickets, it comes with a copy of the book, and then you can get it signed while you're there, and I believe she's doing, like, a Q&A and all of that, so I bought tickets to that because I'm a fan. Plus Size Player was, like, one of my top reads from last year. Okay, top reads. That book was so damn good. So, I really love a plus size female main character, okay, and Nina, I feel like me and Nina would have been friends in real life for real. So I really loved the books and I'm excited for this third one that's coming out. So I'm going to that book event. So as things are popping up and I can make them work and I have capacity and funds, I'm trying to get out here because I had such a great experience at the Maggie Gray event that it really had me wanting to go to more. So I'm going to go to more. But just know I'll have some information coming soon about the event that I am planning, but it won't be until September. So, you all will have more than enough time should you want to participate. I think you will. I think this is something you'd want to participate in, okay? But I'll have more information coming soon. And then I have some author interviews, like I said, that will be dropping soon. So I will be dropping my interview with Monique Good as a bonus episode because why not? It's my podcast and I can do what I want, okay? And then my interview with D.O. Robinson will be dropping on March 31st. So just stay tuned for all of that. But today, I want to gossip and not really gossip. I'm actually going to be dropping some theories on y'all today. It's been a while since we talked about the science of relationships. And that is a very key part of my podcast. And I don't want to lose sight of that because I genuinely think that we can gain inspiration from books, we can gain inspiration from real life and the science of relationships to help us design and curate the love lives of our dreams. To do that, though, we got to have some dialogue and analyze things. And I really want to introduce you all to this scientific side of dating and relationships because a lot of people don't know that there's research out here that you can just go and access. Like one of my favorite things to do is go on Google Scholar and look up academic journals, especially about dating and relationships, okay? Because there's so much research being done. But the thing about academia, I don't think that this industry does a good enough job about sharing the scientific findings and the research with people who are not also in academia. It's written with a lot of jargon, it's very confusing. Even when I was in grad school, we'd be like, what is this saying? Okay. So being able to take something complicated like that and dissect it and digest it and then regurgitate it for public consumption in a way that people can understand and it is accessible, that's something I'm very passionate about. And two of the theories that I will be talking to you all about today is Knapp's staircase model, which is a model or a theory that talks about the stages of how people come together in terms of like relationships, how people come together in a relationship and how they break apart. And then the other theory that I will be introducing today is the investment model of commitment. Because there is a mathematical equation that can predict how committed someone will be in a relationship. And it's just these different factors that like really contribute to how committed somebody's going to stay in a relationship or if they choose to leave. So I think these two theories kind of overlap and work and intersect with each other. So for those of you who are new to me, all right, anytime I introduce some type of theory or academic research in any way, you can always find links to articles to educate you more on what I introduced during the episode in my show notes. So if you go to my website, thebookloveher.com, that's LOVHER.com, and go to my blog, I have show notes for the episodes where I introduce articles, and you can go and click on them and do a deeper dive and go and learn more because I am a nerd and I like to learn more. So today, I want to talk about this concept of is it art imitating life or life imitating art? Okay? Like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? We read a lot of things in books that, as readers, as consumers, as people who are perpetually trapped in a fantasy world. We're very comfortable with certain things occurring in books. But then when we see those same tropes or same themes and same actions playing out in real life, we don't like it as much. We question it. We're skeptics. So we can believe in love at first sight in a book because that's make believe, right? That's a fantasy. We could believe in insta-love in the book, but if we see this play out in real life, we question it. How they fall in love that fast? Love at first sight, I don't believe it. But all of the things that we're seeing in art, in movies, in books, things that we perceive to be fantasy are based off of some form of truth. Is it that art is imitating life, or is life being influenced by art? So this month, we're reading Where There's Smoke by Aricka Alexander. It would be considered like an insta-love. You know, they are falling for each other very fast. I don't want to say they fell in love very fast, but there was an instant attraction. Like, Fee has not let up. Fee is not playing with our girl Angel. Okay, Phoenix has had her foot on the gas from the moment that she met Angel. Okay, but they met each other and then they had that first initial interaction where it was like, ooh, I'm feeling you. But then they didn't see each other again for a year. And then they reconnected and it's like, well, dang, I haven't stopped thinking about you. And now that we've reconnected, I'm not finna let this opportunity pass me by. So things have moved really quickly after they've reconnected after that initial meet cute. Okay, so is that an instant love, instant attraction? Is it a second chance romance? Either way, we had this interaction. I was feeling you, but the timing wasn't correct. And now that we've reconnected, I'm not finna waste this opportunity. Do you know how often that happens in real life? Where you might meet someone and for whatever reason, it's just not the right timing, but there was an initial attraction. There was an initial like, ooh, if things were different, I might could talk to you, you know? And then time passes by, you reconnect, and then it's up from there. Okay? My wife and I, we connected. And then I relocated to another city, and for like 4 years, we lost touch. Then when we reconnected, we never stopped talking after that, and now we're married, okay? So, sometimes shit plays out that way. Is that instant love? Is that second chance? You know, and that's what happens in these books. Somebody'll meet someone, and they initially like, "I'm feeling you." And then the relationship takes off from there. In 3 months, they done fell in love, married, a year later, got babies. Like, who knows? Like, this stuff really, really does move this fast. And we talk a lot about U-hauling and lesbian relationships and how fast lesbian relationships move. But there is a science to falling in love, to forming a relationship and forming an attachment to someone. And there really isn't a time frame on that. So, how this connects to the conversations that have been happening this week with Choyce Brown and Auntie Nay, okay, on the internet. So, Choyce and Auntie Nay hard launched their relationship, and then Choice's ex came out and was like, I'm finding out with y'all. I find it funny how y'all together when just 14 days ago you were with me, and really caused a ruckus about all of this. And then, you know, there's just been a lot of conversation around how quickly should you move on after a relationship's ended, you know, showing empathy to the person who got their heart broken. Do you have to show empathy for the person that got dumped? Do you owe them anything? Are there any expectations for this? Should there be expectations? This has been a lot of conversation. My personal opinion is once you're my ex, and I don't owe you shit, and Imma move around, okay? So, I've definitely pissed some people off in my past because, 1, I don't stay friends with exes, and once I'm done with a relationship, I just move around. That's just not what I do, and it's not just dating relationships. Once I reach a point where I really come to that conclusion that the relationship is no longer serving me, I don't linger. I don't maintain a friendship, I don't maintain a connection. I disappear into the abyss, and all you have are memories of me, okay? I really do fade into the abyss. So, I can't relate to some of this stuff that people are saying because I too am a choice, and I will move around. However, there is a science to predict some of this stuff, so we're gonna talk about it today. So, with Knapp's staircase model, there are 10 stages that relationships go through to form and to break apart. And like I said, there is no timeline for this. So when we see in books, there's this like instant love, instant attraction, and you can kind of predict sometimes, like seeing how quickly people are moving through the stages. And you can cycle through the stages over and over again. It's really no timeline. So when people are saying like you moved on too fast, you could be in different stages of the relationship and be with a partner. Just being in a relationship with someone doesn't guarantee that you all are experiencing the relationship in the same way. Someone could be already feeling like they are in love with the partner, and the other person could still be unsure. They might not know. Someone might be on the verge of breaking up and they're ready to terminate the relationship, and the person that they're with can be oblivious to that fact. Just because you're coupled up with someone doesn't mean that y'all are experiencing things the same way. And that's where there's some confusion. It is quite possible for you to be contemplating marriage and your partner was like, I don't know how long I'm finna stay in this relationship. I'm ready to break up now. I'm gonna give them another chance. That's why it's really important to continue to communicate with your partner and have conversations around the relationship and how things are progressing and how the person may feel because contrary to what a lot of people may think, we are not mind readers. And it is possible for you to be in a relationship and be completely oblivious to how that other person is perceiving things. So it is really helpful to have conversations and check in and talk about things. That's something that I really enjoyed in Where There's Smoke. I feel like Phoenix was so communicative with Angel and really transparent about her feelings. Angel didn't have to guess. She didn't have to wonder. She was transparent from the beginning about being attracted to her, liking her, wanting to be with her, the goals that she had for the relationship. And I think now in real life, a lot of people are very afraid to communicate clearly like that. They're afraid of being vulnerable. They're afraid of putting themselves out there, and people just play a lot of games. So it is possible for you to be in a committed relationship and y'all be on completely different pages and stages of where you are in that relationship. So communication is key. Okay. But the first stage of getting together in a relationship, according to the Knapp staircase model, is initiating. So this is the stage when you meet someone and you're trying to determine if there's a strong connection. There's even research about that. There's research that says like within the first 15 seconds of meeting somebody, you know whether or not you want to continue to have interactions with them, if you want to continue getting to know them. It doesn't take that long. You know right away whether or not this is somebody you can see yourself talking to, dating. You are entitled to change your mind. I do think that there are times where we have snap judgments about people and they're incorrect. But according to the science, people know within the first 15 seconds if it's somebody that they can see themselves getting to know and staying in communication with. So that first stage in the relationship is initiating. Just trying to assess whether there's potential here for a strong connection. Then the next stage is experimenting. So this is when we start to share some personal information about ourselves. Okay? Start talking about like what's your favorite color? What do you do for a living? What are some of your values? Just some initial, getting to know you to test whether or not there's some compatibility. So you're experimenting, talking through different topics to assess if there's some compatibility. I will tell you right now, I think that part of the reason why lesbian relationships move so fast is because of the emotional connection, the emotional attachment that happens in those relationships very fast. Women, because of the way that they're socialized, often will have deeper conversations early on into meeting someone. And those are the things that help you form that connection and form that bond. So, how quickly somebody moves through initiating and experimenting those stages in a relationship, that could all happen in one conversation, one afternoon. Okay, to go from like, "Oh yeah, I like the vibe. I think there's some potential here." And now we're having a conversation talking about how, we have trauma and stuff that happened to us in our childhood. Conversations move very quickly. That really does force a connection, and you start to feel close to someone really quickly through those conversations. The next stage is intensifying. So, this is when you express deeper feelings for each other. So after you've been doing all this talking and getting to know one another, now things start to intensify and it's like, I really like you. I really like you too. I think we got something. And you can move through those stages in a day. Like for real, y'all. You can move through those stages in a week. There really is no timeline for moving through these stages. So I really think there's a science to insta love. The next stage is integrating. This is when you see people becoming a unit. You start to form that bond and create this shared identity. So maybe your friends start to meet, you start mimicking each other's behavior, you really start to integrate your lives together, doing more things together, which leads to bonding, which is we are exclusive now. We're fully committed. We are in this thing. You are my girlfriend. Sometimes bonding is even more serious where we're engaged, we're getting married. And like I said, people will cycle through these stages. But just like there's stages to coming together, there's stages for pulling apart. So differentiating. This is when the couple starts to direct attention to their individual needs. There's a shift. You're no longer thinking about the we, and you start to think about the me again and start thinking about your individual needs separate from your partner, where you start to differentiate and get your individuality, your identity back. This is a normal progression where couples start to fuse and bond, and then it's like, let me take a step back and, find my identity outside of my partner again. But that is like the first stage to coming apart. And from there, the next stage is circumscribing. So this is when couples start to feel disconnected from one another. And it's really easy for this to happen. And you might not be feeling that at the same time that your partner is. Sometimes people are working too much. They are pulled in a lot of different directions. They may not be as attentive. I also blame these damn phones. People are very distracted and might not be giving their partners their all. It is also very common for people to move in together and start acting like they're just roommates. I've mentioned this before on the podcast where, they stop having sex, they don't go on date nights, they aren't traveling together, and it becomes very boring. And the couple start to feel like they're not as connected. Then the next one is stagnating. So this is when communication and emotional connection are minimal. When that starts to happen, that is a sign that the relationship is really starting to deteriorate. People could be in these stages, like I said, and feeling like they're separating from their partner, they're disconnecting, they're choosing not to communicate, they're not talking to their partner about things, and the person that they're dating could be oblivious. They might not even know that their partner is feeling this way. There are a lot of people who detach and disconnect, but they're still coupled up. Okay? So you might not be in these stages together. The next stage is avoiding. So this is when both people start to distance themselves. Y'all are avoiding each other. Maybe it's too many arguments and you tired of arguing. So I'ma just take my time getting home. You start avoiding each other. That's a slippery slope. Once you start avoiding each other, the next stage is termination. That's when one or both parties decide they want to terminate the relationship. So, the reason why I bring this up is that there's just been a lot of conversation around how quickly should you move on from a relationship. And I think it's helpful to understand the stages of relationships coming together and falling apart because you dead ass could be on the verge of terminating your relationship and your partner could still be in bonding. And unless you're having conversations, like I don't think people realize just how often people are checking out of these relationships while they're still in them and how quickly you could move through those stages of coming together and really find a connection with somebody quick. Not everybody's relationship moves that slow and not everybody's relationship moves that fast. And that's just life. So when we read about the insta-love trope in the books and we gobble that shit up, people are so skeptical of when there are real relationships that move that way in real life. And, a lot of people have been burned in relationships, have had their heart broken, and they no longer believe in love. I think that's why a lot of people read books so they can feel something that they're not able to feel in the relationships. But I think that you can use these books as inspiration to create that in your real life. It doesn't have to be a fantasy. With the relationships, there's another theory, like I mentioned, called the investment model of commitment. You'll often hear people talk about how they met someone and it's the best they ever had. This is the best person they ever dated, and they're just so in love. So the investment model looks at how satisfied someone is in a relationship, plus the alternatives they have, also the type of investments they've made into the relationship. So let's look at satisfaction. Some things that lead to someone feeling satisfied in a relationship is, what are some of the costs and rewards that you experience in the relationship? Does your relationship add value to your life? Or is it something costing you things? So, for example, do y'all argue all the time? Is this relationship costing you sleep? Is it costing you peace of mind? Are you losing a lot of money in the relationship? Or is it bringing you a lot of joy? But a big thing, what I really wanted to highlight today, is this perception of alternatives. Some people don't perceive that they have a lot of alternatives, so they end up staying with their partners, even though the relationship might have run its course, but they're afraid of being alone. They don't want to leave. They don't think that they will find somebody else. And sometimes people who are manipulative, the first thing they'll do to try to keep you connected to them, to keep you dependent on them, is to manipulate you into thinking that they are the only person that will love you like this, and that nobody else out there will love you like them, and they will isolate you from your community so that you will perceive that you don't have any other alternatives. Sometimes the alternative is like whatever you would be doing or have access to, whether it's a partner, resources, if this relationship did not exist. What is the alternative you have to being in a relationship with this person? And someone like Choyce, who, people perceive because of her looks, her connections, that she has a lot of alternatives to date. She doesn't have to settle. So if she ends up in a relationship with somebody that she's not feeling, she can move around. And there are a lot of people like that, like, I don't have to settle, baby. I got lots of options. I got plenty of alternatives. And the alternative could be your singlehood. Some people enjoy their company so much that being in a relationship is not a good option. You have to bring me peace because I enjoy being by myself so much. Like, if I feel like you're going to disrupt my peace, then I would rather stay single. That's some people's perspective. So you could look at all these different factors to determine how committed someone's going to be. Another factor is, it's called the comparison level. So basically, what type of people were you dating before? And how do they compare to the person that you're dating now? And I think that that also factors into the insta love, because if you were dating trash people in the past and now you've met this person, the vibe is right. Y'all have now shared some information and like really were experimenting to see, what do you have in common? Where's the compatibility? And you then perceive that they're better than the type of people you dated in the past. All of that factors into how fast these relationships move. And I just get so confused when we see these things play out in real life. And there is science to me that supports that, and how comfortable people are with reading an instant love trope, instant attraction trope in a book, but are very critical and judgmental of that when things play out like that in real life. And everything that we see in these books, the inspiration came from somewhere. So there is some truth to these stories, and that there are relationships out there that mirror the things that we're reading about in the books. But I think the general consensus is there is no timeline on how quickly you can move through a relationship and move through a breakup. That's a you thing. And only you would know how much time is appropriate for you. I think people project their beliefs onto people all the time, but no one's gonna be able to quantify that for you, like how long you need to mourn and grieve a relationship that didn't last. And I do have a lot of empathy for people who are going through breakups, who were really in love with someone, and that person just does not share their feelings. Unrequited love is a bitch, okay? When I was in grad school, I wrote a paper on how I think there should be a rehab for people coming off of love. Because when you're falling in love with someone, your body is experiencing some of the same chemical reactions that you do to when you're getting addicted to a drug. Like some of the same hormones and the chemical reaction is comparable to becoming addicted to cocaine and hard narcotics. So when someone's going through a breakup, especially a breakup they didn't anticipate, and they're abruptly yanked out of that relationship and cut off from that supply of love, it's similar to going through withdrawal from a drug. And how people cope with that and how people handle that breakup and no longer feeling those emotions and now having to go through withdrawal from that relationship ending, that does lead to a lot of the issues that we see in society today. Think about how many people have harmed themselves and others because they couldn't handle the rejection. But going to the internet and sharing harmful information or leaking nudes and leaking sex tapes and bashing the person that you claim to love on the internet, to me, isn't a healthy way to cope with the heartbreak. How you respond to these things, how you cope with these things, that can make or break the situation. You know, hurt people hurt people. And I think that's what we're seeing with Choice's ex. But I've been knee deep in their business this week, y'all. I've been going through the videos, watching the shit like I don't have no life and like I don't have books to read. But because this is so visible, I don't know, it's like watching reality TV. So I do get the allure and why everybody's been tapped the fuck in. But I just don't agree with all of the conversation around how she was wrong for moving on or wrong for hard launching her new boo and how that was too fast. That's not y'all's business. And like I said, if you look at the theories, it is quite possible to move through those stages of a relationship coming together very quickly. Now, sometimes relationships do come together really fast. People do fall very fast and they fall out of the relationship just as fast because the first sign of adversity, they didn't have a strong foundation that the relationship was built on and then the relationship crumbles. But that's their business. This book that we're reading is just so cute and so sweet. And we're seeing all of the messiness happening on the internet streets. It is really nice to come to this book and just have this really cute, straightforward love. Phoenix ain't played about Angel, okay? Phoenix has been on Angel from the moment that she met her. And it's just refreshing for someone to be able to just admit their feelings, aren't playing any games, and you don't have to question it. I feel like that's the number one complaint I hear from my friends that are single, that are trying to date right now, is that it's too much game playing, and just somebody who will claim you, not make you question their sincerity. They're not entertaining other people, and you could really trust that they're going to do right by you. It's hard to find that, and I'm just very grateful that I did. My wife ain't never played no games with me. It's been transparent from the beginning. Okay, but there's no set time for moving through these stages. But the insta-love trope, despite how much I rep slow burn, I really do like the instant love or instant attraction trope. It is one of my favorites as well. I just like to see a relationship develop, and I like plot and character development. And I think that you can have an instant love trope and also have those aspects present in the story as well. But I love it when there's, you just know. When you know, right? When you know. And if we can be comfortable with seeing this type of love and joy play out in a book, we can't be overly skeptical when someone is able to find that in real life. Thank you for tuning in to the Book Lovers Club. If you love today's episode, make sure you subscribe so you never miss a chapter. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review because those reviews help other lovers find us. So if you want to keep this conversation going, please join me on Instagram or hop on over to Fable to join the virtual book club. And until next time, remember, the stories we read can help us write the love lives of our dreams. See you next Sapphic Saturday.